seems like he's trying to downplay your efforts. How do you plan to address this with him? That's a good question. Do you think it would help to prepare any evidence or examples that can back up your points when you talk to Jack? Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. For 3 weeks, I practiced conversations that would never happen with people that I would never meet about things that I would never say, and it completely stopped me overthinking my social life. You may have replayed such conversations in your head for the 3rd, 4th time tonight. What you should have said, how you could have stood up for yourself, why you froze when they put you on the spot. What if you could practice those moments before they actually happen, in a space where freezing up, it doesn't cost you anything? Before I record any further videos on this channel about confidence, inner peace and self-empowerment, I thought I'd show you the app that I spent 7 months building for people who overthink social situations. This app of mine is for anyone who wants to feel more confident being themselves around others, whether that is setting boundaries with family, making friends, or just not feeling anxious about attending social events. Because instead of feeling nervous or anxious about your next big moment, you should actually be feeling empowered as to what surprises are waiting for you. I've had to learn social skills in 3 different areas in my life, whether it's law, acting or martial arts. But here's the thing, here's what nobody tells us. Just reading about confidence or watching videos about confidence, that doesn't actually make you confident. Simply just knowing that you should set boundaries doesn't really make it easier for you when your friend asks for yet another favor. And that gap between knowing and doing is practice. Self-help books, they give you scripts, but real life conversations, they don't really follow scripts. Therapy helps you understand why you struggle, but it doesn't give you real life practice. And friends let you vent to them, but they can't really show you where you need improvement. So what you're seeing right now is the home screen of the app. And we've got a snapshot of what our little village or city looks like here. And this snapshot is specific to you. So what I mean by that is this village here will look different to you, and it will look different to your friend who has the app. And it's different because it's contingent on what your leading civility is. So I'll get to that in a second. But you can see here that we've got the daily headlines for your village. So you can see the front page headlines here, and you can go down and see the what they've written in the editorials, some investigative journalism, a recent government policy announcement there. This is all based on your scores and skills and strengths in your civilities. And you'll see how this is all tailored to you as we go along. At the top here, we have your stats. So you can see how happy your village is. You can see how your economy is going and whether your crime in the village is high or low. Again, these are all contingent on where you're scored in each of your 8 civilities, right? So I could imagine that if you're not scoring very highly with emotion regulation at the moment, probably your crime would be a little bit higher than you would like it to be. So I factored this into the app because I firmly believe that each of us can have a large impact in society as a whole. So our actions and our attitudes and our skills, our civilities, each of us can have a large ripple effect onto greater society as a whole. And if we move across to the right here, we can see how many coins we've collected so far, what level we're on, and of course you can see the strongest skill here for each person. This will be different based on how they're going with their role plays, right? So if we click at the bottom at this training button here, we can see our train screen. This is where we begin our role plays, our training. This is a relatively new account, so nothing really shows up at the moment, but over time you'll be able to see your tracking and your progression of your civilities, so you can track your improvement. Whether it's last 30 days, 90 days, it goes all the way back. So we can go all the way down here and we can see just exactly how we've scored on each of our civilities here. If you watched my video from last week and you still don't know what your leading civility is, I've got great news for you, because I've built into this app a one-time onboarding role play that's set up for you at the start of you opening up the app. And you go through and it's a role play experience where you are talking with another person who's an AI, and you are scored on each of these civilities for the first time. So at the end, you get exactly what you see here. You get a score of where you're placed in each of the civilities. You can see which of them are you're high in, which you're low in. And so this is an excellent way for you to see pretty much instantly what your leading civility is. So there's that, or apart from that, you've also got the questionnaire that's in my book on page 37, I think it was. So you've either got the app or the book, and it really depends on what kind of a person you are and how you learn best. So I set up my app, Embraven, to give you empowering attitudes, strategies to just confidently handle any social situation that you're in. So let's say we want to train charisma. We click on charisma here, we can see a full rundown on the health benefits, the career benefits of charisma, certain leaders in society with high charisma, hobbies to improve your charisma, hobbies that are detrimental to your charisma even. And if we go and click on train now, we can go to the next page and we can see all of our leaders that are available to us to train with. And these are, I'm really excited to show you this because these are all original leaders that I spent a lot of time creating to make each of them very unique and original. So everyone starts the app with 5 leaders that are available to them, and these are the leaders you can see here. And you can unlock all these leaders down below here. Each of them have different strategies and qualities about how they go about their social life, right? So we go up and let's just say we choose psychologist Dr. Cole here. So we can see a full breakdown on who Dr. Cole is, what his own leading civilities and strengths are, and we can see his particular achievements in each of those civilities. And if we like the leader that we see, and if we don't, we can go back and choose someone else. But if we like Dr. Cole, we can then click next, and we can go on and select our training from 4 different social scenarios, situations. And so we've got casual, so this is great on training ourselves on meeting new people in everyday life without anxiety. So as you can see, this is great for friends, family, or strangers. And then we've got semi-formal. So this is really good for setting boundaries with a friend or family member. So you can see here, this is great for colleagues, peers, or mentors. And then we've got professional, so supervisors, bosses, clients, or prospects. And then we've got conflict at the bottom. And this is really great for learning how to stand up for yourself. You're going to get a bit of pushback from the AI. And so this really starts to develop through muscle memory, really, your ability to stand up for yourself, no matter what situation you're in. Also, just let me know in the comments below which scenario you think would help you most out of these 4 you can see here. So before I continue, I just want to go back to these leaders because these are 19 original leaders with 19 individually different conversational styles or strategies. And each fictional leader has their own way of approaching social challenges. All 19 of these leaders have their own unique and distinctive conversational strategy. So you can choose just the right leader for your chosen situation and become adaptable for any environment that you're in. Again, if we choose reporter Laura Dean here, we go and let's say we choose conflict at the bottom here, right? Now we can choose the skill that we want to actually train today. So let's say we need to train our assertiveness. We click on assertiveness and then click begin. And it's just going to let you know a couple of tips here, so you can read these in your own time. And we could begin the conversation just by typing hi. So before we begin, I'll just show you that this is your guidance card, right? So you can see here, this is Laura Dean's social strategies. This is how she usually starts the challenges that she's presented with. This is how she approaches them first up. So she usually starts with an assertive opening. So this will be different for every leader that you choose. All 19 leaders have their own strategy. They have their own first opening. You can go along here and you can see at the bottom here, if you're already stuck for ways to respond, you can see just a little breakdown on how you would start off. And then you can see the tactics that are used by her at this point in starting the conversation. So we're going to type hi, just to start off with. And this is going to be sent to the AI, and then the AI is going to process this and send us back something. And the AI is going to adopt a role of someone who it sees most fit to play in the role play based on what settings you've chosen for this role play. So we can see here, it's come back and said, "Hey Ryan, I just heard Jack spreading some misleading information about your latest project to the team. Seems like he's trying to downplay your efforts. How do you plan to address this with him?" That's a good question. So immediately you can see that I've started thinking, right? This is where the overthinking starts coming to it. This is where the app helps us. So if we go down and we read about how Laura Dean, reporter Laura Dean, would approach this, this is how she would start. With an assertive opening, you can see some of the tactics that she uses for her assertive opening. And then you can also come down and see some of the common phrases that Laura Dean would use. So depending on what kind of a person you are innately, or what kind of skill or civility you want to develop further for yourself, you can choose any of these here based on how you want to respond at this point in the conversation. And these are all, again, I put each of these in here. These are all individual and unique and distinctive for each leader that you've chosen. So just for example, if we choose that we want to be, what have we found out here? That he's trying to downplay my efforts. How do I plan to address this with him? Well, we're aiming to be assertive here, right? So we could, if we want to, we could go and click negotiate, be strategic. You can see here some responses on being strategic, and these are just, you don't actually use these verbatim, like word for word. These are just examples of how Laura Dean would approach her situations. Or we can go back and we can see, okay, let's be confident. Let's assert ourselves right here. So we can be inspired by some of these responses that Laura Dean would start off with. So we can immediately see that Laura Dean's very upfront and assertive in the way that she conducts herself. And you could probably see that before on the previous screen, setting things up with her high stats in assertiveness. But now we're actually seeing it in practice. So we can be inspired by any of these potential responses, and we can go and write our own response now. So I'll just fast forward to make this easier for the video. So I've just finished drafting a response here, and I'm just going to click go now and send this off. So immediately we can see that we've got a response here now. So that sounds like a solid plan, Ryan. Just make sure to approach him calmly so the conversation remains productive. Do you think it would help to prepare any evidence or examples that can back up your points when you talk to Jack? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Every evidence instead of just hearsay does help in this case. So immediately you can see that I'm starting to think cognitively about how I can approach these situations before they've even happened in real life. This is the whole point of me building this app, right? It's to help us develop muscle awareness on how to instinctively approach and navigate these challenging scenarios that we are faced with, and keep our cool and keep calm in the process, because it all comes instinctively by muscle memory. This is the whole point of building this app and engaging these exercises, is that I wanted us to have a safe space to make mistakes, to learn from those mistakes and have no consequences, no real life consequences, no repercussions. And so what the great thing is here, you can see that there's a little status bar just here above the words reporter Laura Dean's social strategy. You can see like a teal status bar. And this advances as you move through Laura Dean's social strategy, her cards. We're up to number 2 now, as you can see. So she would then, at this point in the conversation, or the challenge that she's in socially, she would engage in fact-finding. So she would go, this is what Laura Dean would do. This would be different for any leader that you choose. All 19 leaders that I've put into this app have their own strategy. Number 2 will be different for each of these 19 leaders. But Laura here, she would engage in fact-finding. So this then helps us personally in our lives, you and me, to begin to train this muscle memory on, if this is what these great iconic leaders do, these fictional leaders that I've made up, if this is what they do that's working for them, then we can just take what they do and transplant it into our own lives and begin to instinctively embody this way of conversing with others, so that it just becomes effortless and seamless and easy and natural in these situations. So yes, the person I'm speaking with here suggested that I collect evidence or examples that can back up my points, so that I'm not just relying on hearsay when I go and approach Jack about this matter. So if we're lost for words at this point in the conversation, there are a number of things that can back us up and help us at this point. So we can come down here, and of course we can look at the common phrases that Laura would respond with here, or we can also click the top right here. There's a little light bulb icon there, and your leader, who's Laura here, she will intervene and help you, give you a potential response that you can respond with at this point in the conversation. But what we might do first is we might go down and what can we do for being strategic? Click negotiate here. So Laura would be wanting to understand all of the moving parts of this particular situation that we're in, and she would come across with the attitude of being invested in getting to the truth. So she would phrase that in a way probably to Jack, and she'd say to Jack, look, I think, Jack, we're both wanting to get to the truth of what's really going on here. And this makes sense, right? Because Laura is a very reputable investigative reporter. So I've drafted a response here, and I'm just going to send that off and see what we get back. So absolutely, keeping an open mind can help you uncover any potential misunderstanding. Have you thought about mentioning this situation to Sunny? They might offer additional support or context before you approach Jack. Yeah, so now it's suggesting that I, before I approach Jack, just potentially get some further background knowledge from other people that may be in the know on the situation, which is smart. Maybe Jack's going through something at the moment, or maybe they are closer to Jack than I am and they have some knowledge that I don't. So this is helping us rewire the way we think about social challenges, because it's opening up our perspectives and our viewpoints as to what is really going on in social encounters with other people and how we can best navigate those. And this is all coming instinctively. So right now you can see I'm taking time to work through this for the sake of this video, but you can imagine that over time, over days and weeks of doing this every day, just for 10 minutes, this starts to become instinctive and embodied in ourselves, and it just becomes effortless and natural. And we stop just overthinking and ruminating over social encounters with other people, and just becomes easy and effortless. So let's just say at this point, for the sake of this video, we don't know how to respond. And let's click at the top right here, and this is going to get a live hint for us. And you've got 3 live hints per role play. And our leader, Laura Dean, is going to help us figure out a way to respond. Yeah, so Laura has said to us here that I would ensure clarity and assertiveness by calmly and directly addressing Jack with the facts, supported by evidence, while being open to his perspective. Yeah, so she's basically saying that because she's an investigative journalist, right, she's always open to any and all perspectives. So this is very important in this situation because maybe there's something that Jack knows that we don't. So this is exactly how Laura is helping us here in this situation. So we can just swipe that hint across and to the right there, and we can proceed with getting back to responding. And so for the purpose of this video, I'm just speeding through these answers, and the person I'm speaking with here has just asked me whether I want to have a private conversation with Jack first, or whether I should be bringing this up in a team meeting. So it's asking me, do I want to kind of take Jack off guard and just bring it up with people around me as social backup, or do I want to speak with him front on first? Okay, so I've just kind of flown through these with quick responses just for the sake of filming this video, but it's come to the end here, and we've finished our talk with this particular person on how we're going to approach the situation. And we click finish, and then what it's going to do now is it's going to give us personalised advice and feedback as to how we approach that situation. And so it's going to read through our responses, how we could have responded, what we could have done better, what we did really well, and it's going to let us know that. And we're going to get direct feedback from our leader, Laura Dean here. So we've already got this here, so that was pretty fast. And we get a very detailed report here from Laura on what we have done well. And at the bottom here, you can see that it's just loading. We're going to see stat updates to our civilities. Okay, and so here we are. We've got, wow, okay, so we've done reasonably well with that chat here with empathy. We've actually got +1s for all of them, which is a bit of a surprise. Sometimes you might not get any points for one civility. Sometimes you actually might get negative points for civility because you were, to be honest, like to get negative points for civility, you must have done a pretty bad job in handling whatever it was you're supposed to handle. I set it up that way so that it really is honest about scoring us in these areas. It's not going to hold back. If you did a pretty bad job at something, it's going to let you know that. So we can see here now that we were pretty empathetic in this scenario, and we can see what skills here we need improvement on. So for example, I may need to work a little bit further on my negotiation skills here. I'm doing pretty well with emotional regulation at the moment, and my articulation is pretty fine already. So let's click log this, and then that'll log it to our database, and it will give us just a brief snapshot on what we achieved in this chat today. So for example, we can see here at the top here, October 22, which is today, I effectively planned a calm and respectful discussion with Jack about misinformation. I demonstrated strong empathetic communication and sought collaboration with Sunny. So that's like a little achievement that we achieved today, which is really encouraging for ourselves on this journey of getting better at these civilities. So click complete, and then we've got some, that's great. So we've got some coins here that we've made, so 5 coins from this role play, and 5 points. So we're going from 5 points from level 2 to level 3, and you can see here that you can spend coins on unlocking access to new leaders. So if we come back to our homepage here, and let's go to the leaders. And so if we come back to our homepage here, we've got 20 coins now, and you need 35 coins to unlock a leader. So we can see here, if we go to train now, let's try and unlock the ambassador, Ambassador Lockwood. Yeah, you need at least 35 coins to unlock this leader. The last thing I want to show you is we go back and let's go to advice. And this is a great little feature. This gives us instant individual specific advice or information, or I don't really want to call it advice, it's information. As a lawyer, I'm instructed not to use the word advice so liberally due to liability reasons, of course. So this is really information. This is not advice, but you can ask each of these leaders any particular question that you may have, and get an immediate response from them on how they would go about navigating that problem. So we can click here on Laura Dean again. What can we ask Laura Dean? Well, she's an expert in courage and assertiveness. And there's some examples there on what you can ask her. And of course, each of these leaders unlock when you choose to unlock them using your coins, right? So that's the home screen. You can come here and you can see your some settings at the side here, and you can see your profile. You can go in and change your little you can change your companion. We have companions here you can choose from, so you can unlock each of these companions too. I've chosen the little turtle here. I think that's kind of cool. And then you can come down here and change all of your particular people that you're using in the app. These are all set in your onboarding roleplay that you do, but these are all changeable, of course. That is just a really quick rundown on Embraven. And I just wanted to really quickly show you this before I move on to other videos on this channel, because it really sets a foundation for everything that I'm going to go into later on. And so with that said, here is what this app won't do for you. It will not cure your social anxiety overnight. I want to be very clear about that. It will not change your personality. You don't need to change your personality. You are who you are. And it will not make difficult people suddenly respect your boundaries. Now, with that said, here's what it will do. It will give you a safe space to practice conversations without real life consequences. It will help you notice your patterns, whether that is over-apologizing, whether it is people-pleasing, whether it is avoiding conflict. It will help you build your muscle memory so that when the real moment arrives, you've already done this 10, 20 times. So you know how to instinctively respond. And most importantly, it'll let you practice being the version of yourself that you want to be. Just picture this in 30 days, right? Your friend asks you to cover their shift again. Now, instead of saying how you would normally respond, like, look, I guess if you really need me to, I can. You've practiced this scenario many times already. And you say to them, I can't this time, I'm sorry. Without feeling guilty afterwards. And it's not because you've become a different person. It's because you've practiced the version of yourself that you want to be 20 times already, in a space where it didn't matter to make mistakes. The words come out naturally because your brain has done this before. I've been testing this app with people who describe themselves like this, right? Overthinkers, people pleasers, socially anxious people. And the common thread here is that confidence comes from repetition, not some sort of revelation one day that you've realized. So with Embraven, you can develop the skills to convert strangers to friends, to convert prospects to clients, to convert competitors to allies, and to convert viewers to followers. So with that said, there is a link to Embraven in the description below. It's literally designed for anyone working on their social confidence. And you can start with whatever scenario keeps you up at night. You can practice any and all conversations that you've been avoiding. And whether you try the app or not, here is what changed everything for me about social skills. It is not about becoming more extroverted or more charismatic. Do you want to know what it's actually about? It is about closing the gap between who you are in your head and who you are in the room. It's about closing that gap, becoming aligned. And the only way to close that gap is practice in realistic conditions. That's true for martial arts, for acting, for representing someone in court, and it's also true for being yourself around others. I firmly believe there is a leader in this app to empower everybody. And speaking about practicing in realistic conditions, I've done a whole video breaking down many hobbies based on your specific archetype that you may want to check out. I'll link that for you right here, and I'll see you there.